Johanna.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a journal share to share with you guys. So I've just finished up some books that are going to be going into my Etsy shop. So I want to give you a little flip through so you can see what they look like and so I can get a record of these books. So in this set there are only 4 books, but I am working on a few more collections that I hope to release before the end of the year. But these ones are ready to go. So they'll be going into my Etsy shop this week. I'm thinking on the Thursday, so I will put in the description box below the exact date and time that these books will go into my Etsy shops. So please check that down below if you would like to catch the restock, and also just keep in mind that wherever you are in the world it may be a different time, so go into Google and pop that time into Google and find out what time it's going to be wherever you are. But anyway, let's get into the flip through. So the books all come in a little drawstring bag, which I've just sewed on my sewing machine, and I've just used the same floral fabric for each of the bags. So all of these journals are pretty similar to each other. I'm going to go ahead and pull them all out. So here are the books, and if you follow me on Instagram you may have seen these before. I've shared a photo before when I made them. I actually made these covers all the way back in March, like end of March, early April, and then I put them to the side because they just got pushed to the side while I worked on other things. Lost a bit of momentum to finish these, so they just got put to the side for the longest time, and then recently I got inspired to finish them. So obviously these are wraparound covers. They are soft cover. They are made with vintage linens and hankies, and I've just put it through my sewing machine, and there's also obviously a base of the cover which is card, and it wraps all the way around, and then you have an eyelet here. There's some seam binding. You could switch this out if you wanted to, and that just ties closed and keeps the book shut. So it's a wraparound cover. It's soft, it's got so much room to grow. I've made books like this before and I've used them before, and the really great thing about this style is that the more that you put in them, the better they actually feel in your hand, because they fill out and the cover fills out, and it can grow so much. There's so much growing room in these books, so you can really bulk them up if you want to, or you could just write in them because there's plenty of writing space in these books as well, and you can see that they don't look like they're lacking any pages, like they're full. So they're also a very tall size and they're quite narrow, so I think they're about 5.5 inches by 10 inches, which makes them feel quite grand, like a big ledger book, because they're often really narrow and tall, so they feel quite grand in that respect. So then on the spines I decided to do some weaving. So I just did some weaving into the binding of these books, and it feels really cool. It's really tactile to touch, and it just adds a bit more colour and decoration. These two have weaving there on the middle panel of stitches, and then these two have weaving on the top and bottom panel. And one thing I do want to say about these books I'd like you to keep in mind is they are quite shabby in style. I made these covers, I completely had no idea what I was doing when I made these covers. I was fairly new to my sewing machine, I wasn't that comfortable with it yet, and so the sewing is really imperfect. It's not going to come apart or anything like that, but it's definitely imperfect, and it's got that shabby style which I kind of quite like. It gives it some extra character, but that's just something to keep in mind because some people may like that style and others may not like that style. You can see they are all very similar. The main difference for these books is just the colours. There's a green one, a yellow one, a blue one, and a white one which has like red or pink accents, like a deep red winey colour for the weaving, and it's got this red and pink floral hanky. So they just have different sort of colour schemes. Inside they are very similar as well, and I'm just going to show you briefly. It opens out like this, and then they all have a different fabric pattern inside. They're all floral. There are a lot of pages in here. I believe you get over 200 sides, but basically for these books I kept them pretty simple. I wanted to make sure that you could use this however you want, so I didn't want to over embellish or anything. I did add some extra vintage things on paper clips and stuff so that you can collage them into the book wherever you want. The pages in these books are made up of mostly fabric dyed paper. So the fabric dyed paper is in blues and pinks, and there's like some variations, so like some purpley tones and some greenish tones. And then to have the full size paper, I've also incorporated some large white sheets. I've also added in some ledger paper, so some sheets that will fold right out, and some book pages as well. And then there's also a few little bits of scrapbook paper in here as well. And what I did was I just went in and added some pockets with my sewing machine. So I didn't want to add a ton of things because I wanted you to have free reign, but there are some pockets throughout each book that are stitched in. A lot of the pockets are made out of vintage linen, so my printables from my Etsy shop, I've just printed some out and used them to make pockets. I've also printed out some extras and cut them out and just stuck them on paper clips so that you can use them however you like. And then of course you've got some vintage ephemera that's added in on paper clips, some doilies, some journaling cards. This is an envelope I made with one of my linen printables, and some book paper. So you can seal this into an envelope, or you can just keep it like this for writing inside or putting a photo inside. So like I said, you could add a lot of stuff into these books, and it's gonna take a lot before it gets overly chunky. You've got a lot of room to grow these books if you want to do that, so they'd be good for collaging or using with lots of photos, or if you like to write, there's a lot of writing space in here, as well as some little pockets for you to add in your own little mementos and things. All of the pages are really different to each other. You get a very different effect with the fabric dye, so there's some really pretty tones in here. I've also done a little bit of punching on some of the pages. And this is a full-size pocket here with one of my linens. So this is sewn onto a page, and then you've got a big pocket just with a little vintage receipt in there. I've just paper clipped it so that it didn't pull through and get lost. And I've also got a sheet of this vellum from Tim Holtz, which is really pretty. So they all start out with a sheet of that vellum paper. So lots of paper to play with. You could do whatever you want with these journals. They just feel really cool in your hands. They're so soft. And yeah, so that is the green one. I'm just going to take you inside each of the others, even though they are very, very similar. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this is the yellow with the beautiful cross stitch and yellow and blue hanky on the back. The weaving there, and then open it up. This one's got like a red and yellow fabric on the inside. There's the vellum page, a pocket here with the linen, and then I'm just going to flick you through because it's quite similar to the other one. I think I ended up putting about 25 to 30 pieces of ephemera or linens or vintage pieces in here as well, even though they're just paper clipped on. I feel like when you don't know who's going to end up with the book, it's best to just allow total free reign sometimes. So you could take all of them out of the book if you wanted to, if you didn't want them in there, or move them around the book. There's another full-size pocket there. But yeah, so there is the yellow one. Then we have the blue one. The blue one has this pretty hanky with the pink and yellow flowers, and then the blue linen that comes around, wraps around the cover. And then inside this floral fabric, which has purples and pinks and greens. It's quite pretty. And then all of the pages are again very similar, so lots of fabric dyed paper, vintage ledger paper, book pages, there's some doilies and printables and envelopes and fun little things for you to play with in here. And then they all have like a page that's got a big fold out, and I love the inking and the staining on these papers, they're really pretty. Pockets. So ledger paper. Fold outs. And there is the blue one. And then lastly we have this one. So this one is white, but it's got the pink and the red sort of accents with the hanky and the weaving. And then when you open it up, this one's got this floral fabric that's got like oranges and yellows, and again same sort of thing with the pages, different variations in colour for the fabric dye as well. So this one's got like some orange, some pockets, just lots of lovely paper, different paperweights and paper types and sizes, which makes for a pretty interesting journal. Even if you just wrote in here, it would look quite interesting when it's all filled up. Like I said though, these books are really fun to fill out with things and stick lots of things in, because the more you put in them, the more the cover sort of fills out. It has so much growing space that the more you put in it, like it feels firmer but it still feels soft, and it just feels so good. I can't describe it. I have another journal that I use that is a wraparound cover that I made, and it just feels so good to hold it in your hands. And you can see this book has lots of room to grow, but once it's chunked up, it feels so good. Anyway, these are the journals that are going into my Etsy shop this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you want to check out the restock, then make sure you figure out what time it's going to be wherever you are in the world. And don't worry if you do miss out, because there's always going to be more books coming. People have been asking me if I'm going to be doing a Christmas collection this year, and I am, and I'm hoping to have that released by early November at best. I'm going to do my very best. And then there's another collection as well that I'm working on that I'm hoping to get done by that time as well, but we'll see. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for stopping by my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.